Hi guys and ladies, welcome back to another exciting episode. My name is SMMEs and this is episode number 19 of the Being an Analyst podcast. We're going to be discussing the investment time return model, which is quite important, especially when we are trying to think about which SMMEs to digitalize that are currently in the informal market or informal sector. We are continuing from episode number 18. We continue the conversation and we will start that just after our theme song. So stay tuned. After spending so much time in technology finance department in the major bank, I realized that there has been a lot of projects that we're going through, and thanks to the process that we put in place, they were able to decipher to say which of these business cases of which of these projects are worth the rents that we're going to spend on it. The model that we used to be used was the return on investment model that most bankers are using. We're saying, okay, hang on a second, how much return are we going to be getting from doing this project, whether it's moving a button or refreshing the website or web page. All of that had cost to it because you have people working on it and people's salaries were attributed to that project. And if you're gonna have somebody else earning 10,000 rent a day, working 5 days on that, already the cost of that website refresh, it's already 50,000 rand if you're looking at just the person's salary. If you factor in the computers, the coffee, the cleaning, everything else, it can easily go to 100,000 or 200,000 just for one person. So once you put in the project, we always ask, what is our return on investment? If our return is it just gonna look nice, then we have to think twice about before we put in that investment into it. Thinking about this, we're looking at the delegacy of issues that talks to development. It looks like most of the things that are development related, that has to be financed for developmental purposes. Most of us, we use our emotions than just looking at things logically. And because most of our problems are stemming between or they involve time and money, it is quite important that we factor both the time and the money when we're processing if an investment or a decision is worth it. Failure to just do that, looking at just one side of things, like say for instance, these people are need websites, give everybody else a website. You can just hear from that tone that I'm using emotions and not processing logically to say, hang on a second, are we going to be using good use of our time? Are we actually making good use of our money? So, as much as we need the emotions involved so that we can be revitalized, we also need the logical sense to actually get us going. And our logical sense in this case will be, channeled by time and money split. If we split the time and the money correctly, we'll be able to go further. So with our project within the bank, I mean, we were spending about north of 2 billion a year on projects. And I must say, most projects that had business cases were being sent back. Not every project that went through actually made it through, meaning that there were people that were doing high level design to say, listen, you have to digitalize this tavern, or you have to digitalize this shopret, or you have to digitalize this beauty store or salon. But when it comes to the final say, on the table. He didn't cut it. So now today we're not just talking about the issue of compiling a business case. We're not saying once you have the business case, you are good. Once you have the process in place and you include that in the business case, you are good. Once you have not just the analyst, the business case analyst or process analyst or engineers, once you have a project manager in place and a financing partner or financial analyst in place in that project, then you have a good team to work digitalizing this small beauty shop or creating a e-commerce solution. Then you are good. I'm not saying all of that. I'm saying there needs to be another process that has to be put in place on the table that decides whether that project of yours should be getting a red sticker or a green sticker to say it's a go or it's a no go area. So the methodology that we're going to be looking at is very simple. It takes into account the two factors that are spoken about, which is time and money. And we're saying, okay, in order for us to get the best of the time and money, what should we do? So this one is called, the model is called investment time return. Investment time return. The investment part of things is self-explanatory. How much will it cost us, or how much will it save us if we do that? So that's the investment side of things. Are we spending time or are we spending money on it? If you are clear to say, okay, hang on a second, this is a time project, then we say we have volunteers, they are ready to put on their time. They can start with the project. Or we are putting money into this, we don't have volunteers, we have people that come with a price tag and they want this much money for being part of the project. That's just the investment side of things, to say, okay, hang on a second, what does it look like before we start this project? Just in your business case, we already know the investment part of things, that's where the money comes in. But I'm saying not just the money, we're looking at money and time. You can actually put in also the time. Not all the time will be translating into money, because some time is discounted. So you might be saying, since December is already paying for a project manager, can we use that project manager for this project? So the time that I'm already paying so that you can have a project manager, it's already discounted. You're just making a proposal to say, instead of a project manager drinking coffee the whole day, can we use the project manager in this project? And you send that proposal so that it can be approved or declined. So that's the investment side of things. And then second time portion of it is the time. This is not uh, the time of a person that I was talking about. This is the time of the project. Like how much time will it take us or save us when we implement this project? It's not just the time of a person, but it's actually the project time. How much time will the project take us, or how much time will the project in place save our processes, or um, anything? How much time will it take to implement? If you're saying you're going to be doing a e-commerce for a beauty salon, and you're saying, okay, it's going to take us 6 months, then we say, okay, we're talking about 6 months time here, not just the time that you're putting in as an investment, but this is just the time of the project, to say how long will the project take. So if I call the investment time the TI, and then this investment project time becomes TP, T for project time. And then from there, the last part is the return. So the return says we're just calculating on how much we calculate the return on the money and the time involved in the decision. So if we're going to be spending 6 months on doing an e-commerce solution, how much are we going to be getting back from that 6 months? Maybe we'll be saying the owner of the e-commerce will be able to save 5 jobs within the next year. So that's the return that we're getting in, to say, hang on a second, we're not going to be pulling people into the unemployment pool because they're already working. These people has got customers, but the customers wants the shop in East London and they are operating in Johannesburg. So if we digitalize it, digitalize the e-commerce solution and the operational efficiency or operations, they can be able to send their products from Johannesburg to East London, but using, like kiosk or whatever the solution might be, or the just, online solution on mobile phones. So in that way, even though the Joburg market is lower, they are now capitalizing on the East London market that actually wants more of their product. That's just the return on it. But here's a kicker. Once you do the investment time return, it doesn't mean this is a golden thread, you are done. Because when you come to the investment board or in the table where your application for your business case meant to say, for your business case to get approved, we're gonna need to see a certain scenarios or a certain high road, middle road, and low road. That's what we used to call it in sales. So when you come in, we have to say, okay, if things remain as is, what will it look like? So maybe you call that the middle road, and you say 5 people will be, we won't be able to maintain the sales, and we have to spend money on marketing for the Joburg team. I don't know where they're gonna get the money. Maybe they don't have the money for marketing, but they'll continue their operations as is, and they'll miss the opportunity in East London. High road is we do the digitalisation. It costs us 200,000, and they do the e-commerce solution. They take advantage of the market that's in East London with the potential of 1 million sales being done in the first year, meaning that if all they have to do is just to pay back the project, the 200,000 that we put in, they'll be able to pay that like 1/5 of the time. So halfway through, maybe 2 months time, they'll be able to make enough sales to pay back the 200,000 if we do implement this. That's the internal rate of return. But now the low road is they don't do marketing or do nothing in the Joburg office, and then they close down and the people go into unemployment pool. So in doing this way, we've just created different scenarios, at least 3 options that we can think about before the people that sit on the table to say, should we take your decision or not? Failure to do that, and you only create the best possible scenario, is it creates a blind spot for both the team that are putting the business case together and also a blind spot to the team that are approving, because you don't give them the opportunity to actually understand what needs to happen to approve or decline this. And I like a beautiful quote that was done by Patrick Bet David, and he said, most of the investment that are coming through, it doesn't even take a math genius to figure out the investment are worth it, but you need to dig a little deeper into the numbers, make a list of all the blind spots or things that could go wrong with the decision, where it's easy to think about what could go right, but it's also important to see the downside. So there's one person, Hendrina Kanyele, who said to me, always it is good to listen to what is being said, but you must also listen to what should be said but is not being said. So when you see the proposal come through and I'm sitting in that approval board, I'm going to be checking for, is there 3 options that we have in this proposal that is coming through? If there's no 3 options, then I'm thinking in my head, this is the best case scenario, and I'm missing the worst case scenario, and I'm missing the do nothing scenario. The do nothing scenario will show the organic growth, if there is, or the organic decline. Because the business will be growing as is. You do nothing because the operation just keeps on going. If the operations are in the downside, you'll have the worst case scenario. If the operations, then we do something and it looks good, then it will be the best case scenario. Alternatively, you might not be looking at high road, middle road, and low road. You based on your proposal, you might be asked, instead of the different scenarios that way, you might be asked different service providers. Like if you say come here and you say, okay, we're gonna be digitalizing e-commerce platform, then we know that maybe by law it's supposed to be digitalizing. So you don't have to, because it's a first, it's a must happen. You don't have to do a high road, middle road, because it's already approved. But the three options that we're looking for is going to be, what does vendor one say? What does vendor two? What does vendor three say? Or how could you do this with 5 people? How could you do this with 10 people? How could you do this with a team of 50? Maybe with a team of 50, it's going to take you 3 months to implement, but with a team of five, it might take you 3 years to implement. So that also helps us to say, okay, answering it, we see the money, where the money is going to go. Do we know how much time do we have in this project? Do we have 2 years to wait for 5 people to implement this? And then after 2 years, then we are happy? Or we actually pressed for time, that we have to put 50 people and then do it in 3 months? So in that case, whatever we put in, we have to put in three options into it, as well as split it into time, investment, time, and return. Let's circle back to why this is needed for our small business informal sector. Most of the businesses that are happening in informal sector, I mean, if you go there, you you will battle to hold back your tears, to see how people are actually making an impact, how people are struggling to get things. They just need the money, they just need the recognition. They are almost there. We just need to push them, and that way we'll go back to using most of our emotional brain than the logical brain. And if we're using most of our emotional brain, we're going to find ourselves being in a place where the money comes in as part of development financing, and we can account nothing for it, because we send the money to people that were not qualified to actually handle the money. And then somehow along the line will be in the news, that being called corruption, because at the time when we were supposed to make a decision, we made a decision using the emotional brain and not the logical. We left the logical brain behind us. We didn't ask how much time is it going to take us, how much money is it going to take us, and do we have three options? What's the investment time and return based on this simple framework? But what does it look like? All we did is, oh, these people are so hungry. Just give them an e-commerce and they'll figure it out. And then they go there and the customers are not there because the customers don't want whatever is being sold online. So that's another problem into there. Um, the benefit of implementing this model of using logic, as much as we still need some emotion so that we can fuel us for the future, but using logic, using time investment, investment time return model or framework, helps us to stretch the rent. So for every rent or for every dollar that's being invested, if we say it's going to cost us 200,000, we want to get the best out of that 200,000. So we, in the latter example that I made, is we're going to be asking ourselves, if time is the issue, how quick can we stretch the money to get these things implemented yesterday? We employ 50 people, within 3 months the solution will be in place. Or we don't have the money, but we have the time. So how much can we stretch the money? And we're like, oh, hang on a second, we can only employ 5 people over 5 years, or over 2 years, meant to say, over 2 years, and then we're going to get our project. So in that way, where time is a pressure, because not every project needs to be implemented yesterday. If that's the rationale, you're using the emotional brain, and before you know it, is you you are running on adrenaline, because everything else is rush, 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 rush. It's deadline, like we have to do it today so that it can be implemented, and then you stay there and you don't see the benefit. But if we know exactly that, oh, hang on a second, this project is needed but it's not urgent, we can always allocate few resources to it to make sure that it becomes top of mind. Because if you don't put resources to it, you'll forget about it, and you only see it when it costs more money and it's urgent. But if you allocate small resources to say, hang on a second, we are in Soweto now. We're gonna come to Mlazi next. We know we've got 5 projects coming from Mlazi that says these businesses are, thriving. They are looking very, very good, and they need to be looked at. We allocate minimal people to keep the high level design going and to feed back into the board or the committee to say, hang on a second, I know you guys are burning 1 billion in Soweto already, but in Mlazi we still on 200,000 or in few money that we're spending keeping this 5 project on high level design. So we can ask the people to say, can you do behavioral analysis on it? Can you do more research analysis on it? Can you find questionnaires and do qualitative analysis on it, just to keep the high level design going. So having this model seems very simple, but it's going to be helping a lot, especially when you have the investment vehicle in place. It's going to guide us as analysts to say, hang on a second, is this project worth pursuing, or is this project not worth pursuing? Not all SMMEs in the informal sector are gold. Hence why even venture capitalists, when they go there, they pick the ones that they can turn into money quickly. But instead, that this model will be looking at the ones that got the potential of hiring people, even though the return, the payback into the special purpose vehicle is zero for many years to come. But we're looking at projects that will be able to create positive return onto the community. And hence why I'm going the development finance route than the commercial bank. Commercial bank route, it's money out, money in. Development finance is money out, benefits in the terms of welfare, in terms of better quality of living, better standard of living, better education, inequality addressed. All of those issues are they they are good enough to be brought back as the return uh, or on the developmental side of things. But the commercial banking or the venture capitalist side of things is only thing else that needs to come back is the money, because we put money out, so the return needs to be money back. So I'm glad I'm able to clarify that a little bit so that at least you can know about it.